Chapter 39. The light distraction was clever, I admitted, even as I brought my own magical weapon up into an on-guard position. But you can't sneak up on a fox. Predictably, my enemy failed to answer, just lunged forward with speed that proved he was more than human. And even though my well-honed reaction should have been a parry, some instinct told me to twist out of the way instead. Dodging, unfortunately, wasn't the best move against a sword-wielding opponent. But at least I managed to twist far enough away so his blade snagged a lock of hair, rather than slicing through living flesh. And as I pivoted in preparation for the hooded figure's next movement, Mama spoke for the first time in over an hour. Even monkeys fall from trees. "I am being careful," I hissed in response, wishing my dead mother would speak plainly and tell me what I was missing here. Was I just jumping at mice when I chose not to engage with my attacker? Or was there a real reason not to counter his lunge with my sword? Unfortunately, I had no time to prod at my mother's ghostly warning, because my opponent was dancing sideways, in a move far too similar to Mama's signature sidle to be coincidence. And I found myself backpedaling rapidly while memories flowed fast and furious through my brain. The park, my parents, swordplay and laughter, practice merging into dancing. Dad was straightforward and powerful, light on his feet, but not the best feinter if you were familiar with his favorite moves. In contrast, Mama's motions were akin to a leaf dancing along invisible air currents, totally erratic for those of us unable to see the wind. And this person before me was moving just like Mama had, was twisting and leaping so mercurially I didn't know where he was going to end up next. Only my vulpine senses helped me dodge a second blow, and this time my enemy's blade flicked sideways just in time to nick my bare hip. It burned. Not like the usual slice of a blade through muscle, more like running into a flaming torch with the sensitive skin of a cheek or a hand. Was this why both Mama and my gut had warned me not to touch the stolen starball? Had Kira's kidnapper tapped into kitsune powers I wasn't even aware of? Or was there something deeper at work? As I pondered, the figure before me drifted sideways, forcing me to pivot to keep him in my sights. Or should that be her? Because with the cloak covering my opponent's body, there was no way to tell whether I faced a tall woman or an average-height man. The only visible flesh was long fingers wrapped around the sword hilt, and even those appendages could have belonged to a member of either sex. Suddenly, I had to know who my opponent was. If Mama's sword bit me again in the process, so be it. But I couldn't keep fighting while wondering whether this being might be the parent I thought long dead. So I went on the offensive, eyed a folded chair leaning against the wall as I skipped sideways, then took a running leap, using the top of the chair to fuel my forward motion before pivoting mid-air to aim toward my opponent's head. The chair clattered against hard floor tiles, and vaguely, I noted the sound of a crowbar prying at a window covering in the distance, the result just as teeth-clenchingly loud as I'd known it would be. Looked like Gunner had lost patience and decided to break in after all. Not good news with cops patrolling the street. I didn't possess a single spare breath, though, to suggest that Gunner cool it on the screeching, because Mama's sword was swiping toward me, proving the error of my original plan. After all, my trajectory had been decided by the way I'd pushed off the wall seconds earlier. No amount of twisting or flailing of my arms now would send me scudding sideways to prevent my opponent's blow from hitting home. So I did the only thing I could think of. I shifted mid-air, flickering into my smaller fox form and sliding unharmed under the sword thrust before landing atop my opponent's cloth-covered head. As I regained my equilibrium, the sword whizzed past so close that it nearly nicked one of my long red ear tips. Air buffeted, claws dug for traction, and Mama screeched inside my head. "The broken mirror cannot be made to shine." If I'd possessed human vocal cords, I would have yelled back that it was unhelpful to toss out oblique warnings to someone in the middle of a pitched battle. But instead, I scrabbled at the fabric beneath my pads, yanking the hood with my teeth, then leaping away before my enemy could decide whether it was safe to bring that stolen blade closer to his or her forehead. And this time, my move was successful. I didn't glance back over my shoulder to peer at my receding enemy, but I could feel the hood fluttering down upon my tail as I darted away. Soon, I'd know exactly who had bought my mother's starball, then paid Ma Scrubs to have my sister kidnapped. Unfortunately, my opponent only laughed in reaction to being disrobed. And I could see why as I spun back around, understanding at the same time why the evidence of amusement had come out so muffled and low. Because my enemy had taken his or her cover-up seriously. Beneath the hood was a black ski mask, the only flashes of humanity revealed by my action being two dark eyes and a tiny circle of a mouth. Meanwhile, I spat out the bitterness of baking soda, understanding why I'd failed to pick up even the barest hint of an odor while standing on my enemy's head. The laugh itself might have been a clue, but unfortunately, I wasn't that lucky. Instead, the low-pitched sound was entirely androgynous, even as my opponent continued to chortle beneath his or her breath. And this time, I'd had enough. Jumping upward into humanity, I staggered once due to the speed and frequency of my recent shifts. But then I was screaming out my anger, sword raised as I mimicked a samurai swooping in for the kill. I was done with caution. It was time to use my skills to take this enemy down.